Hey everyone, welcome back. If you haven't already started watching part 1, I recommend you go do that now because we're going to jump right into where we left off. And then the next thing I did was here's the base image that I use for the top. So I brought that in. I actually ended up flipping this and then just made it quite a bit smaller. Got it somewhere in that area. Put it behind the logo. Actually, it needs to go behind everything, but it needs to be on top of the base. And then it was simply just putting a mask on it, getting your paintbrush tool, and you want to bring the opacity down. And with a kind of big soft edge brush, just start brushing it away. You just want it to kind of blend into the black. And same thing up here. Turn the opacity down just a little bit. And then we're going to do the same trick that we did here. We're going to click on that box. We're going to select the inverse again. But now, since we're using a layer mask for this piece, what we're going to do is we'll just paint black over that. And that's how you get that really sharp line there. And we'll call that top car image. I think the next thing we can do is start adding some text. So we'll just click in here. We'll type 2015 Mustang GT. Let's make our text black. And then let's also make it bigger. Now we have our text layer. We're going to actually bring this up to the top. We'll hit Command T and hold Shift to rotate it so it fits on the side. So if you select all of your text, if you come over to the character panel and you click here, you can space out your letters a little bit just to make it look a little bit better. So hit Enter. Get your move tool, and you can just move that kind of wherever you want it. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll write something up here. Do special edition. Again, make it a little bit bigger. I'll just rotate that so it fits in. Enter. The last thing I did was down here in the Hot Wheels cars, they have their 1 of 1 or their designation. If you were doing a series of these, you could change that number. They actually do a slash, kind of whatever you want to do. So we'll just apply that. So that's the base of the box. Now what we need to do is let's get the car in there. So for this, we just make a copy of the background. We'll bring that up to the top. And what we're going to do is use our pen tool And we're going to go around and just cut it out. In here where it's black, you don't need to be very precise. You want to keep some of that black because it'll look like shadows underneath. But the pieces on the top, you want those pieces to be really clean. And back here where you start losing that shadow, this is the area that you want to be a little bit more particular with. And I'm doing this kind of fast just for the video so you guys aren't sitting here watching me select this entire car out for 5 minutes. So I'm actually going to speed this up and I'll be back with you in a minute. Alright, now that we have our selection made, or our path made, we'll just make a selection. Click OK. We're actually going to select the inverse. And then because our selection's fine and it's going to be small, we're just going to actually go ahead and delete that. Normally you'd make a layer mask, but like I said, it's going to be small in the photo and it doesn't really matter right now, and we did a pretty good selection. So we'll hit Command D to deselect. And now what we're going to do is we'll hit Command T to make this smaller. And then we just kind of want to get it in the right proportion of where it should be. So somewhere like that. So that will be our car. Let's make another, actually let's rename this first. Call this car. Let's get our text tool. And then something I did on this piece is, because it was on the black, I wanted to bring back that steel texture. So we'll bring that back into there. Hit Command T. Make it smaller. Hit Enter. And then we'll just create a clipping mask. So now if you look, our text has that same texture that's on the side. And it's still editable. You can still move it around. One thing that I did on my other text is I stretched this out a little bit, and then I also gave it a little bit of motion. I just thought it looked a little cooler. And you can do that with the same, you can do that with this text if you want to. Basically all you have to do is come over to your text layer, you hit Command T. If you hit the Command button and click and drag this, you can just edit that text a little bit. Just help it fit a little bit. So let's move that down. Grab our Move tool, push this down a little bit. And now we'll start making our box. So let's make a new layer above. We'll draw out our larger box. And then same thing, we want to get rid of that fill. We want to fill this with white. Let's move that over a little bit. We're going to take that opacity way down. You just barely want to see it. Something like that. Let's go ahead and rasterize that layer. So now that we have our rounded rectangle, let's make a layer above that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab our brush tool, switch to white. Let's see how this looks. Oops. Switch back to black, a little bit smaller. Just on the edge. Nope, didn't get it enough. Actually, here, let's deselect this. Select this. Come right in here. Because we want a nice hard line. Grab our brush tool. We're going to paint on this side this time. So let's make another clip and mask, or another rounded rectangle. Actually, let's make another rounded rectangle. Let's rasterize the area. Bring the opacity way down again. I think I made that a little bit too small. Make it a little bit bigger. Enter. Keep it inside there. Make a copy of that. I'll make this one a little bit smaller. Put it down on the top a little bit. Enter our car. It looks like we need to bring that down some. And it looks like we also need to rotate it a little bit. We're going to rename these to 1. So now that we got those kind of basic boxes drawn, let's group those together. And then let's work on that, getting the car a little bit more visible. So let's make a layer mask on that. We'll take this brush, kind of brush over the car itself. It's already looking a little bit better. And then what we can do is maybe on top of that, to help sell it a little bit, maybe we can grab our brush tool and very lightly we'll go in and add some shadows and some highlights. We'll go in and we'll give those a blur. Maybe that was too much. Filter, Gaussian blur. There we go. Just to give it a little indication of kind of depth, and then we can do that again, maybe on the edges. So let's find first, actually let's go to our second layer. Let's select our first layer. We'll go back up to this. And actually, let's select the inverse of that. And then we're going to paint a dark line just above that. There. That actually doesn't look bad. I'm pretty okay with that for what we're doing here. So you obviously want to spend some more time on this. I think it's just getting the right amount of highlights and shadows and things like that, and just get it looking good. I spent a little bit more time on this one here, but kind of the same deal. So one thing that I did just to finish off the photo is I found a carbon fiber texture and I added it to the black. I mean, the black looks cool. I just like carbon fiber. So I found this texture online, and basically what I did was I just put this right above that box layer. I used the same trick that we did. You command clicked, made a layer mask, and then I just brought the opacity way down. And it gives a little bit more texture in there. Bring that up a little bit more. And then one more thing I think that we need to do with this. So our car, I think our car needs to be rotated a little bit more. Bring that down. And then let's add a layer underneath the car, but above that background. What we're going to do with our black brush, let's get this a little bit higher. We're just going to paint in here. Darken up under the car and behind the car. And that's going to give the indication that it's actually resting there a little bit more. And I think we need to go up to our case and maybe brush out a little bit here just to let that black shine through. And then the last thing that I did was at the very top, I went to this tool and I just made a shape like this right across the top. And now what we want to do with that is grab our brush tool. There we go. We'll pull that way back, just so it looks more like a box. I think we're almost done. The last thing, if we look back at this image, what I did is I just copied the background here. Command J, went to blur, and actually just put a pretty good blur on this image back here. And then put a layer above that, X, just fill it with black. And then just bring it down a little bit. I like the way that that looked. So, I mean, Not bad. The one more thing that you can do, you make a duplicate of this. Let's go in, let's get a darker brownish gray. Something like that. Command click, Alt delete. So now what we did is we made a copy of this box. It's underneath, and what we'll do is we'll go and offset it. Okay, so now what that did is that just gave us a little highlight around the box to actually make it look like it's more 3D. We can maybe pull the opacity back on that just a little bit. But, I mean, there it is. Well, so this is our final project. I know this was a longer tutorial, but it was pretty in-depth and there was a lot of steps. So hopefully you guys stuck in there. Can't wait to see what you guys do. So until next time, take care.